Hey everyone, Leslie here, doing something a little bit different, but this will still be a background texture for what will eventually be a resin base for a pour to go over the top. So what I want you to know is I'm using this is a giant gel printing plate from a company called Gel Press. They have different sizes. I think this is the largest. I don't know if it's a 16 by 18 or 18 by 20, but if you go to the website gelpress.com, you'll see these that come in all kinds of different sizes. The one I'm holding is a 6 by 6, but this gel press is invaluable for doing mono printing. And I want to do a background texture with my Vivid Ultra Metallics, okay? Or you could mix your own. If you guys have the pigments in the Vivid Clear, you can make some up, but all you're going to do is make paint this time. You're not going to mix it down and add water and all that other stuff. I'm using just the straight paint, okay? And I'm going to be printing on this deli paper. Or you might say, deli paper? Why? How does that have anything to do with paint pouring? Well, deli paper actually makes our paint look fabulous. It is even more shimmery than if you paint it directly on canvas. That's our color True Silver. If you guys have never seen True Silver, that's our Vivid Ultra Metallics, and it's called True Silver. True Silver, Dragon Gold, Autumn Flame, not Autumn Leaf, but Autumn Flame, and Cashmere, which is kind of a rose gold. All four of these colors are made out of ground metal. I'm only telling you this because you may not realize that about the Vivid when you're taking a look at it. And if you look at how spectacular and shimmery our colors are on that deli paper, especially this silver, this technique I'm about to show you may find interesting. I was inspired by Melly B. I saw her most recent video. She did a resin base color, poured on top and blew with her heat gun, and then resin on top with no silicone. Looked fabulous. The reason why I wanted to do the deli paper is I wanted to do some kind of orange-red background with bright turquoises and stuff blowing up through the color. And I know that our red doesn't have a lot of mica in it. It has the least mica in it. And real quick, if you put gold in a red, it makes it orange. If you put iRed and red pearl in red, it actually makes it a little bit more pink. So I've got to be a little careful about how much actual mica is in our reds. If you've ever noticed that our reds aren't quite as sparkly, that's why, because I've chosen rich color over the shimmer. But I know that this surface is going to give us the most shimmery print, okay? And I think I can brayer it down on my canvas. So the first thing I'm going to do, okay, so this is the Cranberry Red. I haven't used these bottles in a while. I hope they squeeze out. If not, you're going to see me just pour right out of the bottle top. This is called Poinsettia. I don't need much because my brayer's actually going to spread it. Okay, see how far that goes? That's a lot of red, okay? And I want to graduate like a gradient up to the top with, but this has a lot of red in it. Now, one thing you can always do if you want to change the color for your roller and you're not wasting it, is you can take a separate sheet. Let me get my camera as far enough as you can see this so I don't have to move my plate. Okay, I'm actually going to take a moment and move my plate over just a little bit to this side. Okay, so I usually have a piece of deli paper sitting next to me. So when I'm changing colors, I'm also creating like an abstract background with whatever colors I'm using. And I have tons of them that I've played with. Some are just really crazy bright. You never know what you're going to get, but hey, you know, yeah, this is the, see how bright that beautiful think that's lemongrass. So anyway, I've got my red poinsettia down. Okay, I actually want it to go all the way to the end. I'm kind of blowing it here, sorry. Doing something different. I've never ever done this on a canvas, but I think it's gonna work. So, I just want to get the maximum color. I'm gonna add a little bit of the spiced pumpkin. Hopefully it's enough of a transition for me. I'm just gonna get a dollop out of the bottle. And then I'm also going to squeeze out some sunflower yellow. I think I'll do the yellow first. And then get that beautiful orange in here. I don't want to overmix it. I kind of want the variation in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this 12 by 12 wax-free deli paper. Now I have a second brayer around here, wasn't able to find it, technically. Let me clean this off. If you're lucky enough to have two brayers, but you don't really need two brayers, roll the deli paper over that paint to transfer as much as you can. And this is the first layer. It's not going to be very exciting yet until you can see me get it on the canvas. And actually I'm going to try to stencil a little pattern over the second print where the red is, just to see what I get, because I haven't decided how solid color I want or if I want it to gradient up. So let's see what I'm going to do now. Of course, it's hard to move this jelly plate on camera. It's real heavy and it kind of sticks to the surface, so bear with me. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add some more of that yellow, that sunflower yellow, and I have some ginger peach. Maybe this top will work. Don't assume it's stuck. Let's at least try it. Sorry, talking to myself. I shouldn't assume the lid's stuck. I just, for the sake of the camera, I don't want to waste anybody's time while they're watching me unplug something. Oh yeah, I'm able to get a little ginger peach on there. Okay. I know we're still staying in the same kind of orangey red, but I'm barely mixing them, right? Oh, that's really pretty. Oh, let me see if you can get down and actually see that. Oh my God, the colors on that are gorgeous. I was going to use this with a stencil to put that through, but I think I'm actually going to make a print of this first. That's just too pretty to change. Let me back up here a little bit. So bringing it all the way down, I'm just going to take what little bit's left on my brayer and kind of where I missed it, just kind of tap it in, because I don't want to mix this up. I want it somewhat separated. I like the interest that the mixed colors are giving us. By the way, I love this jelly plate. You can make so much stuff with it. The beautiful cards, mono print for lots of mixed media artwork. Okay, gonna do the same thing. See, this little tissue paper to the side really comes in handy, because you kind of don't want your brayer to keep having paint on it once you're using it for two purposes: to move the paint around, but then also to make sure that the deli paper is completely covered. With what's below. That's pretty nice stuff. I like how that looks. I'm not sure how that's going to look on the canvas, but it's a possibility. I was thinking gradient because it was so pretty. Okay, so let's say I want to put a pattern on top of where that red is. Okay. I'm going to do another one. I'm not going to ruin this one that I just showed you in the camera. So, yeah, let's put some more of this red down. I just don't want to ruin that one because I like that solid red. The background doesn't need to be that busy, but I want you guys to see that you can get a solid color and then stencil a complementary color through it on the next printing. Still cleaning off my brayer over here. Again, this is very, 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 very solid red for a reason. Okay? Just want to have something solid so I can show you. Okay, now, quite frankly, I wasn't planning going more than just like a yellow to an orange, not a true complement to it. I'll see if I can't get some patterns to show up here by just adding some of the sunflower. Then I got to clean off my brayer, make sure there's no red that's going to transfer. And by the way, I just keep turning this thing and putting the paint on it over and over and over again. You're going to end up with an extra beautiful scrap piece of paper. There's that sunflower on the top. I'm trying to glide over what little red is left under there because I'm very aware there's some red residue left beneath there. I'm just kind of moving it around. Okay, so now let's take a stencil. And I really had trouble finding one that was random enough that I put behind a pouring on a painting. So here's my stencil laid down directly in the paint. And then the theory is I can take this, wish it was a little bit drier, but you should be able to put paint on top of paint. I'm going to lay that right on there, okay? Bring over the top to pick up that sunflower yellow pattern. And it is very, very subtle that you can see it. You see that pattern? So this is, let's see if I can get the camera to pick this up. Hang on a second. Come on, camera. Scroll in fluorescence. It's very, very subtle and with all this red behind it, but can you see those little block squares that pop through? Because the stencil blocked everything out and I got the pattern. That I could live with something really subtle in my first layer of resin. Anyway, this is just some ideas to give you some inspiration. Once again, I was using the Vivid Ultra Metallics and Deli paper on the gel press with my brayer. See you soon. Bye. So I've taken some heavy gel medium on my brush and I'm just going to spread it really thin over the center area. Of course the paint's going to move around because they're still paint, and gel medium is actually a paint. It's an acrylic base, but it's also great for sticking stuff down. And I just want this really, 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 really super thin. Boy, I hope I can get this to work. I think right here is kind of where I want to start the bright red. This could be a cool technique if you have them all wrapped, if you have it kind of all wrapped in textures in here and you just have multiple colors to do kind of a base coat with resin before you layer other colors on top. But yeah, I'm doing this for a specific reason. I want the red to be a really shimmery red, and all that texture is going to kind of show up as texture in the painting. I have, and the reason why I'm not that worried about the base where I'm at here is because I plan on blowing some paint up from the bottom area here. So a lot of this on the bottom is going to be covered. Here's a piece I cut for the side. I pre-cut these pieces out of that deli paper, looking for, you know, kind of a solid base all the way across on this bottom area. I'm doing it fast, but I already pre-cut them and made sure they lay down. And then, yeah, this was the one that, interesting here. And I don't want to get the edges down unless I decide if I'm going to put something on the left or right, or if I'm just going to, I was going to put red, but I think that's too stark. So I have a couple edges here. Take a chance and cut in. Oh, this is going to probably be the right. Oops, I got a little edge on it. Oops, I didn't cut it that nice. Let me cut it a little bit nicer. Again, I know this is a big segue from what you guys are used to seeing me do. I'm going to put the straight edge up to the straight edge of the canvas because I can. I'm using the straight edge of the actual deli paper, putting that underneath and then putting my centerpiece on top, pressing that down. And then I'll do the same thing on the other side. And kind of lay that in here up against this edge, best I can, right to the edge of the canvas. And then put this piece on top again. The one in the center is the one that is ruling. Okay, it's not perfect. Probably gonna have to grab a little gel medium. I think my brayer's clean. I want to kind of just try to brayer. The brayer is just a wonderful tool for getting things to lay down. Now I know that's a big destination from here to here. Not sure if that's a good transition for us. Because that's got a lot of yellow right there. This won't be bad because I'm going to pour right over the top of that. This isn't horrible. I almost wish I had this little edge to kind of help it transition. I'm using my big bucket of gel, so pardon me while I get a little bit off camera. I'm grabbing a tiny bit with the end of my paintbrush here because I've got a piece down here that's not really sticking very well. Now, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go through your pieces and say, is it laying down? It doesn't have to lay down perfectly. As a matter of fact, it lifts just a little bit. It might actually, call me crazy, add some more interest, because all this little puckery texture in here is going to look like some kind of fractured metal. That's kind of why I'd like this to go all the way to the top. But I'm going to have to cut some pieces. Oh, put that gel medium under here, what I got on my brush. Let this stick down. So maybe, I mean, I got this really big piece that I did kind of the random one on. The sides I'm not as worried about as I am the center. And see, and I can always touch this up. I don't know. That's actually too wide. You are seeing it live on camera while I'm sitting here trying to figure this out. Get a little bit more gel medium to get that down. Don't worry about the paint missing because I'm going to be able to paint on top of that and touch it up. I'm just putting a little gel underneath it. And a little bit down here. Okay, so the ginger peach seems to be the most neutral color of the three. It's kind of in between the red and the silver gold, and so I'm just going to kind of touch up these little blank areas because the colors are kind of transparent. It'll work. Come out here and kind of paint into these edges. Notice I'm dipping my brush right into the bottom now. Add a tiny bit of that sunflower to it, just so it's not, everything's not just one solid color. Okay. And I don't know why I didn't just glue the paper down and do that, even though I know I can get prettier patterns on that gel plate. I love my gel press plate. Love, love, love it. Okay, I'm actually going to let this dry. I'll get back to you. Bye. So I'm kind of happy how this turned out. I ended up just doing that one piece across, gluing them down, and these are painted with ginger peach on each side. I don't know, but I think this texture underneath is going to create something really interesting under the resin. I'm going to have to let this dry a couple hours because there's no pouring medium. It's not thick paint. We're just letting the deli paper and the paint completely dry for an hour or two. I'm actually able to resin over this really fast. So I'm just making sure that these papers that look like they're lifting up are down and staying down before I resin. So this is what it looked like once I got it done. Call me crazy, but I think this is going to be really pretty under resin. See you guys soon. This is Vivid Ultrametallics from ColourArte.com. That's ColourArte.com. So I just want to get back to you. By the way, it's still drying. Not quite time for the resin yet. I'm thinking I might put it this way and have some color running up this side. I'm just not quite sure. I loved how this is looking so much that I'm doing a bunch of papers. I'm just touching them up now. They're done with Majestic Blue, Blue Bayou, African jade, teal zircon, and then a little bit of our clear vivid enamel and some blue pearl. And I'm kind of doing swashes over wherever this piece was just old random colors rubbed off, and I went over the areas that were white. You see how sparkly that is now? I went over the areas that are white with a tiny bit of the African jade and some of that blue pearl in the vivid, letting that dry. I've got lighter pieces, and that piece I did with the red, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but if you look close, oh, I turned it, sorry, my camera's not, I can't really move this rubber thing because it sticks to the table, but do you see the speckles of gold in there? What was that big thing of gold? There's little bit, I'm blowing it here, totally blowing it here. There it is. There's little speckles of gold kind of random through here. And so I kind of did the same thing on this piece. I took some of the African jade and a little bit of the blue pearl mixed in with the vivid. Boy, this is really drying shimmery. So you can see all those little things I've added besides the color below. That's going to look incredible under the resin. So real quick, I'm coming back in because the red piece is still drying. I'm prepping this canvas the same way I did the other one. I'm taking the darkest blue and making it very saturated on one side and kind of dragging it up the other. And then I'll take my pieces and cut them up and lay them down so I can do the resin. But I didn't want you guys to miss. I did the same thing as the red one as I'm doing to the blue one, so you see the same process. I'll be back. So real quick, I'm using art resin. And hopefully I can get the bottle here in there. I got a deal on 2 gallons of the hardener in the resin base. And art resin is meant to be filled by volume. And volume means that I can look at the side of that line. You got a fill line here on the side of your little cup, okay? And very carefully make sure I've got these both poured exactly to the same fill line. It's by volume, not weight. Okay, even though they say it's non-toxic, and technically it falls into the non-toxic category, I agree. When you mix, little bubbles still come up and pop. And if you don't have a mask on, you can breathe them. How I saw them was under my bright lights. Under incandescent lights in your house, you won't notice them, but trust me, they're there. They look like little tiny gnats flying up in the air. And it's the bubbles that are popping minuscule pieces of the resin in the air. Okay, so I'm going to actually pour these both together in the cup. I've got a taller cup. These are 5.5 ounce salsa cups, pouring into, I think this is a 12-ounce drinking cup that I've got in my wooden stirrer. It says to mix 3 minutes. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm pouring these off. I'm going to mix these 3 minutes. And I'll be back because you don't really need to see me mix for a full 3 minutes, but you want to completely get down, make sure it's totally mixed up. These little canvases are small. I don't know if this is going to be enough to just cover one or if it's going to do both of them. But you're going to do this for 3 minutes straight. So I'll be back after 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm back. This is mixed for 3 full minutes. Set my timer on the microwave. Okay. I have my level on my table. I happen to love this table. So when I pour, I'll pour on my level table. You can see how that is centered. I don't know how I'm getting a shadow on that. But you can see that it's in between the area that it's supposed to be. So what I'll do is the most level surface pour on, and you can let that set up for 40 minutes. and then move it to your resin chamber. I have a two-tier shelf thing that I built with wax paper, plastic all around it, so nothing can fly in, but the most important thing is for you to have a level surface, okay? Now, I'm gonna try to make this short and sweet, but I feel as this is my first time doing something with resin, and I'm a green nut that I want to warn you about everything. So like I said, stirring, make sure you have a mask on. I saw somebody do a video where they said, take a straw and blow the bubbles. Don't do that, okay? You do not want those bubbles. Those little tiny microscopic bubbles will burst in your face, burst in your eyes. Yeah, it's a rarity it could get in your eyes, but I've wiped my hands on my face and go, why am I tasting resin? And that's because the first time I did that. Okay, so I'm not sure if this looks like too much for this canvas. It may do 2 of them, it may not do 2 of them, but this is my first experiment. I'm gonna pour in the center here. Pretty much what I think we're gonna need. I don't know if we're gonna need all of it. I'm gonna take that chance. I have some set aside. Okay, now before I do anything with it, pardon the noise, I'm going to hit my blowtorch. I got my big blowtorch for just a second. That's all I needed, okay? The bubbles are gone, at least from what I can see right now. If I have to add more, I'll probably have to torch it again. Now, I've seen people spread with the popsicle sticks, but I noticed somebody online one time, and of course you can't push down using combs, and so I found a comb here with a handle, and of course the pick with the handle, so you can spread the resin across without necessarily moving the whole wave of resin. Oh, I'm liking what my colors are they're already bouncing off of this. I'm going to put more on here. This is a bigger piece than I thought, and I had a feeling I might need more. So while I'm doing this and I'm seeing how this is spreading, I'm going to add more on here. Hit it with my torch one more time, just for insurance. Just to get the bubbles out. Now, unfortunately, with my camera on top, you're not going to be able to see how magnificent this looks yet, but can I tell you how beautiful the vivid metallics are on that deli paper under the resin. Oh my goodness. So just take your time, move it around, move it around. You have a little bit of time. Depending upon your temperature. You know what, I'm going to put it all on here. And I hope I mixed enough now. I'm going to put it all in here. It's the first time I've done this size, and this is a little 7/8 inch. This is a test canvas. I wasn't going to put it on a deep canvas until I was sure, or on a cradle board until I was sure about how the deli paper was going to react, what it would look like on this canvas. So, it was a test. Again, one more time I'm going to torch. If you have to do it. If I'm having to add more resin each time, then you're going to make sure the bubbles are popped out of there. Only thing I didn't like about this one is this handle can get in there. The cool thing about these plastic combs is the resin pops right off. So I'm going to go for my pick. There's a reason why I like the pick, because I won't risk getting the handle in the resin. And yes, I can take my fingers eventually on here, but the longer you can keep your hands clean, the better. That's all I can say. Truly. So again, if I want to pull a whole wave over, I can put the comb on the side, but if I want to comb it back, so you have a little more control of how you're moving this resin around, because you don't necessarily want to move the entire amount from the center and then have to move it all the way back. So I'm making sure my edges have something on them first, because this is canvas, this is not wood. You risk that the canvas can sag. Now you can tighten it up by spraying the back of it with a little bit of water, okay? And let it tighten up. Spray the back of your canvas with a little bit of water and it'll tighten up the canvas as it dries. Yeah, this is really, I'm loving these colors. I didn't want that to go over the edge just yet. I'm going to make sure I have enough to cover my piece. Now, if you ever feel like you need to put a second layer on pretty quickly, according to Art Resin, you wait within 3 hours, you can put on a second coat, and they meld very, very nicely together. So I found that a lot of people will do a really thin coat on their first coat and a slightly thicker coat. Okay, now I'm having to use my fingers. I want to make sure it's all around the edges here. I still have puddles in the middle. It's kind of inconsistent here. I'm looking to the side, which I know you can't see. But I'm just trying to smooth that resin around as much as I possibly can. Oh yeah, that is so pretty. Oh my gosh. Colors are magnificent. I don't even know if I want to do a pour on top, because what I'm going to do is after this resin dries, I'm probably going to start at the red area and start blowing some paint on the next layer on top of that resin, and then I'll resin on top of this. Now I saw Melly D do a version of this, so if you've seen Melly D, or if you haven't seen it, go watch it. She painted her base with plain blue paint. Of course I had to take mine to the next level, shimmery with the deli paper. Then she resined, okay? Then she went on top, and Melly never uses silicone, so you don't have to worry about any kind of silicone if you're going to resin on top of it. And she just took, looks like Artist Loft white, some kind of brilliant orange, another layer of white, a different shade of blue than the background, took her hairdryer or heat gun and just kind of blew the paint around. Stunning piece. That's all I gotta say, stunning. Inspired me to do this. So thank you, Miss Melly D, for your inspiration. Okay, these aren't pockets, but it looks like the resin's a little uneven there. It's supposed to be self-leveling. So at this point now, any resin that's fallen off the edges, I'm just kind of going to go around and make sure the edges all have something on them. And for the next 15 minutes, I'll keep coming back every couple minutes and doing this, smoothing the edges out as the stuff drips over the sides. And can I tell you how worth it is to take the time to do this? I know it seems tedious, but boy, you don't want to be sanding and re-resining your edges, because you have some uneven stuff, or it came out looking funky, okay? I've gone through the process a year ago when the paint pouring community discovered us. It was May 2017. Everybody asked me about resin. And my experience with resin was dating a guy in high school who made surfboards. Not very much. So this past year I had a local artist here who's tried putting my color in the resin. Personally, I like the resin on top of our paints because it magnifies the color brilliantly. Looks like dichroic glass, which means it's not going to look like any other paint out there that's being used in conjunction with resin. Okay, now that I've got this smoothed out, I'm looking at every angle. I know you can't see my head, but I'm turning my head back and forth at every angle to make sure this is smooth. I'm going to hit it with my blowtorch one more time. Apologies for the sound. Yeah, that one I went a little bit longer. wanted to make sure that I looked at every angle. I mean, this is your chance to look for bubbles, look for pits. See, here's a little tiny bubble right here that it didn't get. Hopefully me touching that's going to level that out. I want it to look like glass. Here it looks like my paper went up a little bit high. I don't know if I can push an extra little resin over that or if it's just that's going to be, I'm going to try to push that paper down and have the resin go over the top of it. So it looks like where I glued it down, that paper went up a little bit. All the rest of them, all the rest of this is sitting beautifully like glass. Very happy with this texture. We're going to see how this one little area ends up drying. Looks like I still have a bubble here. And believe me, I was very blasé about this, going, oh, I'll just come back and check it in an hour. And I had blue tape around the edges that, actually not an hour, I checked it the next morning. I had blue tape around the edges that I couldn't pull off for the life of me. I've gone through all the mistakes, trust me, I could list all the things not to do with resin. But that's kind of not why we're here today. Let me see if I can't zoom in on this. I have my blue piece to do next to me, which I'll do without, you don't have to watch me do that on the camera. And then a little bonus. I talked to an artist today in Australia. She said if you put a little bit of resin on top of the deli paper, at least the kind of deli paper they have, the deli actually goes transparent, which means this could be a component I could use for future layering. And that was that print that I got off just cleaning off the jelly plate. This is what I got to clean off the jelly plate. And that would be beautiful as a transparent layer texture on top of other colors under resin. I mean, come on. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna do my blue one. I'm gonna mix a little extra resin to do this one. See you guys in a few. So the resin is dry. You can see right here, the paper was a little bit taller. It wasn't glued down completely right here. I'm trying to get my finger over that area that I can see. That's just a little piece of paper. That's because my resin was real thin. I ended up going to do a second coat. Now if I want to do a second coat right away, I could have done it within 3 hours, and that's according to art resin that you can put a second layer on at exactly 3 hours. They say 3 hours, so I'm not going to say before 3 hours, and I'm not going to say too long after 3 hours. But it says at 3 hours, you can put a second layer on, and if you have to get a little bit thicker, and the two will meld, and then this little thing wouldn't happen, because I'm planning on pouring over the top of this, which I really kind of like what this looks like. I don't know, I don't want to risk ruining it. This is our colors under the resin. And of course the textural that the deli paper gives is pretty fabulous. I could see using this for various bases. Gives it a nice look with basically no silicone. So literally I was able to just let the paint dry for a few hours and put this resin coat on top. I've got to mix up some colors now, and my plan is to come back in with some really bright china blue, you know, like a light blue teal and white, and blow some color in here. Like I said, kind of like how Melly did on her blue one. I'm telling you, she inspired me to try to go this direction in this piece. And I was so excited with how this red one turned out. Now, if you remember what I was saying, one reason why I want to use the deli paper, I wanted the red to really pop, because red doesn't have that much mica in it. So take a look and see what happens here. Sorry for the lights and the flash on there. I'm trying to get the glare off. But see how beautiful, here it is, that red is where the deli paper is, it's second section up. And you can see how mellow the regular Vivid is with the resin over the top. It's extremely subtle. I know that just because it's the Red Vivid. The Red Vivid doesn't have that much mica in it, but look what happened when I put it on the deli paper and I covered with the resin. Now all those beautiful, glorious colors show up. So I'm kind of glad I did that. And since I'm going to be blowing the bulk of my color from the base down, we're going to be fine. This is going to be fine. Say. All right, I also did another one in blue. And I did kind of the same thing. I took the deli paper in different types of blues and teals, and not quite as dramatic. It's a little bit more subtle than the red one. I also realized I kind of had an oddball section down here. It was a little bit too short of just the plain Vivid blue. I tried to paint over some of the deli paper before I resin. My only disappointment in this shot that I'm giving you guys is what's kind of coming in is these dark patches in here. It's actually turquoise. And in some lights, as I'm walking by this thing, I may be able to pick it up on my camera. Even though this is all blues and teals, it's picking up some kind of strange violet pearl cast on one end when I'm kind of walking by with my phone. So we'll see how this looks once I blow some colors on top of this, and if I regret it or not after all this work. But I wanted something, I wanted to do that LED technique without having just blank blue behind it or blank red behind it. Anyway, I'll be back. Just wanted to show you how these turned out.